everybody, and welcome to another fantastic session for the FuturePrint Virtual Summit. I've been really looking forward to this one all day as I'm joined by an incredible panel of experts from across our industry. So just to give you some background on our panel, Kelvin served with the Royal Air Force for 12 years before moving into the e-commerce industry. He started his journey with VPress 19 years ago, and today he is well recognized throughout our industry for saying that he is, and I quote, crap at lots of things, but when it comes to web to print and e-commerce, he definitely knows a thing or two. Craig is the global project manager for VPress, and he has had a stellar career spanning more than 20 years when it comes to the development of software systems that enhance the efficiency and operational capacity of businesses in our industry, and most importantly, allow print service providers today to add value to their customers' businesses. He also is something of a fashion icon, as you can see. Paul, well, he is a legend in his own right within the UK print industry. Straight talking, he is passionate about print and supporting businesses to make the right investment decision to base their growth upon. Having started his career in print at Xerox, he has worked to develop a number of household PSP and supplier brands before now moving to ASL Group. One thing, having known Paul for nearly 10 years, he always tells the truth, whether you like it or not.
Whoops.
So with tens of thousands of businesses around the world having to contend with the challenges from falls in demand through to how they can produce their products and still engage with customers, VPress is witnessing a very surprising international trend, which is what has really given birth to this talk. As Kelvin, who is the sales director of VPress, has said previously, we have witnessed across our international customer base is nothing short of astonishing. There has been an intense and sustained migration for print businesses towards web to print and e-commerce as they adapt their offering to be purchased, specified, and personalized online. This really is a massive acceleration of the trend towards print businesses embracing digital platforms to add value to their customers' businesses. So this session, which we're going to embark on, will explore these critical trends with Kelvin's insights supported by this expert panel. So I think just to kick things off before I move to the first question, from our point of view at the Independent Print Industries Association and the British Association for Print and Communication, considering these trends that have accelerated, if you have not invested in a web to print or e-commerce platform, it is as bad as not having 4-color printing. That's the brutal truth of it, I think, having looked at the market and seeing where the trends have gone. So if I now move to the first question, and Kelvin, maybe if I bring this one to you. From the title, how do you do this then? How do you make your press work 24/7?
I think the starting point is you've got to, in this current climate, you've got to start going online. It is obvious that. You've just said it in the opening statement there. You've got to have something, not concentrate about the press so much, I dare say, concentrate on how you're going to engage with your customers, where the order is going to come from, how you're going to process them. And being a web to print guy, I've got to say that, but I actually truly believe that as well.
Yeah. And Paul, from your perspective, being at the coalface with dealing with customers every day, you're specifying print engines for them, you're helping them grow their businesses. How do you make your press? Same question to you.
Do you really need to be working 24/7, or do you just need to work smarter? Do you really need web to print? It's nice of Kelvin to say how important it is, but actually the press, if the press doesn't print what you need it to print, you're wasting your time in the first place, aren't you?
Yeah, too true. And Craig, what's your viewpoint on this?
I'd say that naturally the web to print side of things, I mean, you've got to have that. You've got to have that. I mean, you've heard so many stories about how in the last few months, basically years and years, what was thought to be planned for years and years ahead have all been brought forward, more stuff online, more everything going online and being more automated. I've heard so many stories about this, but not only the web to print, but also for the back end of actually submitting that into workflows, pre-press workflows, into MIS, into ERP, into warehousing systems, whatever you actually submit it into, that's all got to be automated as well. We can't move backwards or stick with rekeying information in or printing stuff out or downloading stuff. Just can't do it. You can't do it nowadays. It's got to be all automated from that initial web to print system, gathering whatever the actual content happens to be, whether it be personalized content or maybe an uploaded and submitted file, because it might just be for printing. Upload that file, submit it through, it needs to all be automated, all of it.
Yeah. And, you know, from our perspective, I was having a conversation just this morning with a key BAPC member, a call quick that is in the middle of London. And they were explaining to me how, although the average pre-COVID turnover rate, the majority of SME print businesses in London now is getting down towards the single figures, which is shocking. He's managed to keep his business in the 35 to 40% turnover category pre-COVID, which for that sector is doing really well at the moment. And when I asked him, how are you doing it? He said, basically on day 2 of all of the restrictions and everything being announced, he saw what the writing was going to be on the wall. He'd had an initial introduction to web to print and e-commerce software. He went full in with it and pursued it, rang all of his customers, got into it with them and said, look, I just want to make your life easy. If you need something ordering, you know, what's the biggest problems with you? And they would say, okay, well, sometimes I need to order from you, but your phone's open at 8:30 in the morning. I cannot be bothered writing another specification email. You know, if I could just specify and order something quickly at 8 o'clock at night when I know I need it at the end of a working day, that'd be great. He went and made that happen, called all of his customers, and that is singularly what's supporting his business at that 40% bracket at the moment.
I can add to that because I know that to be absolutely true. Because one of my friends in the industry, I was talking to her the other week, and she was saying that, okay, after the actual shutdown, and they started opening it 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, and now they're running double shifts full time. And she was actually asking me, do I know a decent printer that actually do this other job for her? Because they just did not have the capacity. They just did not have the time to do it, and they're offering that to all of their clients coming online and ordering 24/7, submitting orders 24/7, and that's how they're growing their business back again. That's how they're bringing it back. I mean, I know not everybody is, but you know, to be in that position now where you're actually filling double shifts all week, and then having to, crikey, we haven't got enough press time to actually do this. We have to outsource some of this. It's just phenomenal, and that's how they're doing it as well.
Yeah.
You can challenge that further. You know, the two things we know about the start of this was there's two aspects that customers were looking from printers. The access to 24/7 ordering, you know, not just working around when a print shop opens in the morning. We use the term print shop because it's quite a generalization, but when you open at 8, 7, 6, 9, 10 in the morning to when you close at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in the evening, the ability to accept and receive orders 24/7, and the availability to get a price. You know, people want a price. You can get a price for anything on the internet, except print in most cases. And when you do get a price, it's quite inaccurate anyway, so it's not uncompetitive. So that's what people were looking for. And when all this COVID-19 started, and I'm saying this, and I'm emphasising that because the whole situation around it within the print industry, everything pretty much turned off. Anybody who says that the market didn't just stop and slightly restart a little bit, you know, I'd question their feeling on that, because for us at VPress, everything pretty much just stopped because everybody was in shock when we actually did go into lockdown. But what we saw that there were people out there who were looking to do things differently. And it's the looking to do things differently that supports the innovation that other people have that will save the print industry. And I really believe that.
Yeah.
Analysis of our customers kind of rubber stamps that, but only so far. Everybody wants to have access or the ability for their clients to reach them 24/7, but not everybody wants to print 24/7. And the importance of the digital press on this is not having somebody standing over it every hour or every day. It's the agility of that press to be able to deliver most of the things they want and most of the time they want to do it, but still having the flexibility of what you guys can or can't deliver that allows them to either send that to somebody else if that's what they choose to do, or hold on to it till they're ready to print it. The customers of ours that have been extremely successful through lockdown, I hate to be bigging you two up, but they are the ones that have got a web to print system. The ones that are struggling with work haven't. And kind of a direct connection there, isn't there?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Okay, so moving on to the next question then, as I referenced in my intro, you know, being online is now seemingly a necessity, not just an option. And that's been the focus on that, as we've just discussed, has been really, you know, honed in on during this difficult period. But it's not just about web to print, is it? So Kelvin, can you just pick up on that point for me?
Depends. I think you've got to really understand what it is that your customers are looking to achieve. So we can go by the success stories that we've got. One of our clients that we recently did a case study on, Apogee, order submission, the ability to send jobs, nothing fancy, the ability to use our system in its most basic form to get jobs from A to B, wherever A may be and wherever B may be. And that's been a success story. And then moving on from that, taking things into a different area, you know, where customers still needing to get print. And we can all jump on the PPE bandwagon. It's come on board very quickly, very rapidly, and expanded. But the fact is, 38% of people are buying online on a regular basis now. 38%. Before COVID-19, I think it was around about 30%. It's increased in 6 months, 6%. And they're e-commerce figures that have moved forward, you know, that have progressed during this difficult and challenging time. Those figures over the next 6 months, and we've got it the next 6 months, are likely to grow at a faster rate. That's the thing we've got to understand, not just B2B, B2C. So if people are buying products online, then surely if that's the direction that the market, and I'm using the global term market, if that's the direction that the market's going, why wouldn't you be online? You know, if you want to send jobs to a printing press anywhere in the world, then you're going to need that online portal in order to do that. Email doesn't do it. If you're emailing jobs, it's wrong on so many levels, it's not even worth discussing because that argument's been had and been round. But most B2B customers can't send jobs by email because of file sizing. So, you know, if you haven't got an online portal, and I am the web to print guy, and I am banging this drum, any web to print, not just our own, but there's a lot of average ones that are out there where we happen to be really good. But, you know, there's a lot of reasonable systems that are in the market. And if you haven't got a system or you're not looking at a system, then you need to start doing that now.
Yeah. So Craig, building on what Kelvin said, do you agree with that? I mean, I know you're in the same company, but you don't necessarily need to agree with that. Do you feel that's a fair statement?
I know it might sound a bit contrived, but yeah, I do. I totally agree with what Kelvin's just said, to be brutally honest with you. I can't really add much to it. But I can see Paul, you're shaking your head. Go on, Paul. I can see you're just itching to get in there.
You guys make it too difficult. It should be easier. You can have conversations. So in your opening statement, Craig, you talked about ERM, CRP, MIS, lots of acronyms that to a thick Yorkshireman like me don't mean shit. I don't understand what you're talking about. And that fear will push me back. It will make me go away and think this web to print thing's a little bit too clever for me. It's a little bit too scary. I don't understand it. Emperor's new clothes. I'm not the one standing there naked. I'm not telling anybody that, right? It makes it difficult for people to access what you're talking about. I don't know if other suppliers do it any easier. I know you guys do a reasonable job, but it's got to be easier, hasn't it?
Can I just answer that? Because that was a question I wasn't sort of thinking was going to come up. So you see, it's easier. But the answer to that is education. You know, it's never been easier to tap into education than it has been now. Look at this. We're not even together in the same room in a pub having a chat anymore. We're doing this remotely. We're using Zoom. We're using GoToMeeting. We're using WebEx. We're using Teams. We're using all these different applications that a lot of us didn't really use. I never used Zoom 6 months ago. And we've now embraced that. And it's education of doing something that's different. It's never been easier to tap into that. There's webinars, there's seminars, there's livenars, there's barinars, there's everything, you know, where people can get together. You know, so the education's never been more accessible. So speaking to people, speaking to a couple of vendors, if I want to buy a digital press, I'll come and speak to you, or I'll come and speak to someone else more informed, if there is anybody. But talk to the first web to print. Speak to a couple of web to print companies, find out what they've got to offer. You know, see where there's strengths. We've got strengths, others have weaknesses. You know, it's finding the balance between the two.
And I think ultimately what this comes down to, isn't it, is I completely agree with you, Paul, in terms of I spend a lot of my day-to-day job just speaking to printers at the coalface who are trying to find a way to transition through quite rapid change before this period. And now it's a roller coaster and they're trying to hang on. But maybe a really simple way I can express this from my own personal experience is my wife runs a Sunday school. She needed to order 150 beautiful little cards that explained what the Sunday school does, because she wanted to go and flyer the local area about it. Now, she placed that order and she was just saying, right, I need to do this tonight so that I can get them ordered and they can be with me in a couple of days' time. And I just plucked the first, literally the first web to print company I could think of in my mind that could do it so that she could order it and specify it that night. Instant print. Okay, great. Did it. It was a fairly easy experience for her. They came, she placed that order. Now, the special thing about why that matters is that they captured her information whilst doing that. What they then did 2 days later was send us this, a golden ticket through the post, beautifully foiled and laminated. And on it is a discount code that she can now use to go back to the website to use to continue using that software. So they've tied her in, and they've used print now as the action call to make that happen. So guess what? Their printers, they're now using print as part of the tool to get traffic back to their web to print software. So that's really the essence of what we're talking about here today. It's important because what it does is make the customer, whether a B2B customer or a B2C customer, it makes their life easier. It makes ordering print easier, and far be it from driving your customer further away from you, it actually draws you closer. And that's something I'd like you to pick up on, Kelv. Web to print is often criticized by saying, yeah, but I won't get to speak to my customers, or, oh, it's really alien and it pushes them away. Is that true?
No, because what it does, it automates the jobs that need to be automated and gives you more time to spend engaging with your customer about the things that really matter, and ultimately probably where the profit is. You know, if you're fiddling over something like a business card, and business cards are falling off the planet since the start of COVID-19. Nobody wants to give anything from person to person. If you're thinking about where the business cards have gone or where the brochures have gone that people used to hand out, you're spending that time not thinking about the things that have taken off, and not just PPE, but the fact that people are doing more virtual events, they're sending more personalised gifts. We've got gift season coming up with Christmas, New Year, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day. You know, people need to connect with people. It's human nature to connect. Print's a proven way to connect. And if it's more personal, more personalised, it's more personal. So there's value add there in doing what we're doing. So you've got to think outside of the box in how you're approaching it. But as a printer, as a person looking to send those jobs to the press, you shouldn't be trying to come up with the innovation yourself. There's plenty of people coming up with great ideas, B2B and B2C. Your job is to work out how you can monetize those ideas, how you can capitalize on them, how you can turn them into jobs that are going to go to press. How can you use the fact that print is a value add commodity that adds a tangible benefit to what people do. Nike sales are up 12%. What's Nike done? Personalized trainers. You can design your own, you get a personalized box. In the Crown Pub, we've talked about the luxury packaging market, iPhones, you know, personalized iPhones, personalized gifts. You know, there's a whole range of areas. When you sit back and you think about what you can do, you'll start believing it.
People on my side of the fence, so the people that are supplying the hardware, are as guilty of over-technicalizing things as anybody else. So when I was talking about web to print is complicated, if you hold up that image again, that golden ticket, Brendan, that in itself, people will make these things bloody complicated. That can be printed on quite a wide range of digital printers. You don't need to be overfoiling, you can be printing onto a shiny bit of paper. But people like me, people on my side of the fence, are too busy trying to push a sale of a piece of tin rather than saying to the printer, hey, look, here's a whole pile of different ideas that you can produce now that will give you something that you can then sell. And if we sell an idea to people rather than a piece of tin, we'll get paid on selling tin, but if we sell the idea, it makes it easier for them to sell their business. And so I'm as guilty of making it complicated as anybody, as the next man. So apologies.
I agree with that.
So actually, that our next question. You actually agreed. Well done, chaps. Well
It
done.
won't last.
Progress is
It
being
won't
made.
last.
We'll wait for the next counselling session. Craig, I'd like to bring the next question to you. You have been in this industry a very long time. You've seen it grow. At the start, when web to print was going to be the new hallelujah 15 years ago, kind of peaked and didn't quite happen, and now it's had another steady growth backward, up through the industry to where it is now. How hard is it to find an online solution and then make it work and actually get an ROI for a print business? You know, how can printers really make it work for them? Because I think you were quite right to point out that there is a bit of fear and hesitancy still around web to print.
The biggest thing that I found over the years is that people will put web to print in and then just think it's a golden ticket, and they just put it online. They put everything online. Everything's there for their customers, and they think that they'll just put it there and they will come. They've got to have buy-in on so many levels to actually get people to actually using it. From sort of like if it's a B2C, you've got to promote it. You can't just put a B2C site out there and just leave it there. You've got to actually start promoting it, start pushing it, and making people aware, putting it out on social media. Again, with the B2B side, we've got to have the buy-in of your internal sales and account managers to try to actually say to them, right, this is how we can get their orders in and straight to the press quickly. Within a couple of seconds, it's sat in the press queue, ready to go. You know, they've got to have buy-in internally, especially. So I think those are a couple of big things that sometimes people don't give it as much emphasis as they should do.
Yeah. And Kelvin, I want to be a little bit controversial now, but you know, this is really important and also quite urgent, because ultimately with the power that web to print has, what's possible with it today is there is a danger that with how fast these trends are moving, if the print service provider doesn't move now, then that market will get fully snapped up by print management, because ultimately they need to get out of a place where they're just the factory and the print manager is controlling the relationship and the marketing and everything else. And by the way, this is from an association full of print managers, so sorry. But you know, that there's a danger of them losing that relationship. So could you just tackle that slightly contentious topic for me?
Well, it certainly is contentious, but I would say the line between print managers and printers has never been thinner. You know, it's never been more lacking, because really what is a print manager? Printers now are print managers. You know, if a printer doesn't produce something, he can outsource it. He's got to make down the road ball with a gold foil finishing digital press that can do the job for him, and he can still do it. And a lot of print managers are tapping into trade print, which is print management itself. So, you know, that is an ever decreasing circle. But print management companies by default have a place, and that they can offer a global or a national or a corporate wide solution with a web to print platform. So, you know, everything is, I do believe they're all converging. All these organizations, there's no print manager, there's no printer. The good thing is that print brokers are gone, because I think they were killing the industry for decades. But technology brings this together. It brings it together. And, you know, when people are buying print, you bought that golden ticket. Where was it printed? What machine was it printed on? You don't care. Your wife doesn't care. And that's what we've got to do. It's great having the emotion into how it's lovely being created, but print's being commoditized. Everything's being commoditized.
I can tell you the exact reaction was that she had a decent experience ordering that. It came on time. It was decent quality print. What made the difference then was her just getting this, and she just was really excited by it. She had something that was personalized to her. It came through the post. It was pretty. I can tell you the next time that she needs print, she's going to order from that company. She will.
And that's loyalty. That's not about what it's printed on. It's about the experience of ordering it. And web to print by nature, web to print isn't anything tangible. Web to print is an experience of getting back. You know, in my office here, I've got an MFP, multifunction print device, the crappiest printing press known to man, and also the most costly, because although it's cheap to buy, the quality that outputs is terrible. And the ink cartridges are like 50 quid a pop. So, you know, that is the most expensive way to print something. So why not send it through to a printer who's got all these beautiful commercial digital presses who can turn it around, give me a great job by return, and make the whole experience enjoyable and worthwhile and easy to come back to.
Yeah. And Paul, coming over to your side of the equation, what place, as you mentioned earlier, what place do you feel the suppliers, the technology developers in our industry that you've spent a lot of your career working for and helping develop those brands, what more can they be doing now to try and really engage print businesses to help pass on this education, so that actually ultimately they are seeing more clicks go through their printers, and your side of the equation is more profitable?
They need to be more agile. You get some, oh God, here we go, manufacturer with just one brand, and they will ram that brand down your throat saying, this is right for you, this is the second coming of Christ, I have got the greatest machine in the history of mankind. Total nonsense. People on my side of the fence have got to learn to listen to the printer, an unprinted supplier, and understand what he needs, and then supply the best product for that environment. And you don't get that in a single brand. You get that in a mono brand with people that are a little bit more open-minded. It's really, really difficult because I am blatantly anti-mono brand, as everybody knows. But that's years and years of learning that one person doesn't have the answer to everybody's questions. And sometimes you might have to just sit down and give somebody a damn good listening to.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll now move on to the final questions for the panel today. Guys, you all deal with, all have this position of being able to have an overview of everything from very, very large trade print businesses through to smaller SME businesses. Craig, if I start with you, how do you feel our industry is faring at the moment, both in the UK and internationally with your international footprint? What does the future look like?
I would. Crikey, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for quite a while. And we need to be more automated. We need to bring everything more online, be more efficient. We need to put more automation in place for that sort of like pre-press workflow into MIS, into back office. We need to really get ourselves ready for when things start picking up, that we're actually there and we've got everything in place. So once you've actually used the, for example, once you've actually used the web to print system to actually upload your artwork, wherever that's coming from, whether it's B2C or B2B, however it's coming in, it needs to go straight into a workflow, and it needs to be processed and then sent straight to the device or sent straight to an MIS system, and it needs to be all ready for basically someone to just take it either A, off the end of a press, or B, just press the button and it just runs it straight through. We've got to be there. We've got to have everything automated, ready for when things do pick up, because they will pick up. They will definitely pick up. Don't know whether it will be in 6 months or longer than that. I don't know, but it will, and we need to all basically be ready for that point.
Yeah. And Kelv, you've got a interesting insight into markets as far afield as South Africa. You've got some major accounts there where they've suffered a massive lockdown, and as I referenced at the start, they've used web to print to help turn themselves around. Could you just give us a little bit of a case study in South Africa for all of our viewers?
Yeah, well, South Africa, but also in America as well, we've done quite well. Looking at South Africa, their lockdown's been far more severe than we've ever experienced here. They actually did have the army out in the streets, making sure people weren't going out anywhere. So things have had to change, and things have had to change, and it's been bad. It's been a different, unexpected situation that we've gone into, and it's going to last for quite some time. But by changing it, one of the guys over there explained to me that, by having a web to print, by having some kind of online offering, all his customers now, an unlimited number of potential customers, are now accessible. Instead of running all over the world, moving from building to building, country to country, state to state, selling their wares, everyone's in the same place. So all of a sudden, all the people you could ever want to engage with, all the people who could buy your wares and engage with you and use print but in different ways, they're all now sitting in one place. So through your PC or Mac, using the internet, you can now access those. So if they know what you're offering, and what you're offering helps what they want to achieve, whatever that may be, B2B or B2C, you can tap into that relatively easy by having a different mindset. And that's what the people who are doing really well, the companies that we've engaged with, and many others as well, using other not as good web to print providers, is that's what we've done, where we've helped people engage at different levels, and there's a market there. Everybody there is waiting. Just some of them don't know. Going back to Paul's point, they probably do just need a bit of education. This is education.
Yeah.
What we do forget, and we really, really shouldn't, is just how cool print can be, and just how reactive it can make people be. So when Mrs. Perrin picks up an envelope and gets a golden ticket, shit, that's in her. That's in her, and print can do that. Right now, we're sitting on Zoom meetings. There are people all over the country working from home, all tapping away. But when the letterbox goes because the postman arrives, they're actually picking up the direct mail and reading it now because they need a break from these bloody PCs. So the physical touch and the reaction that print can give, we are in a cool industry, and people keep talking it down. Let's start talking it back up a bit.
Yeah, very good point. So I'm just going to move to the last couple of questions now as we are coming to the end of our time slot. Craig, when it comes to MIS, there is, as we mentioned earlier, it's all about it connecting up the systems, connecting to your digital printer, and you went through that a little bit, but there is still a fear that this is going to be months to integrate it and get it working, and oh my God, I'm going to have to connect to my press, and that worries me. And just thinking about it alone tends to somehow scare people off and ignoring this great opportunity that they have at their fingertips. So if someone has never really got to grips or done full research, and this is the first time they're really starting to think about, okay, maybe this is an opportunity for me, is it difficult anymore to integrate something like a web to print system into your business?
The web to print side of things, no, it's not. Not from our point of view. We can do amazing stuff. With regards to actually gathering data, processing data, doing it all lights out, and just delivering PDFs to presses and everything else without anyone touching anything at 4 o'clock every day or whatever it happens to be. Yes, we can do all of that, but just to make it quite straightforward, that you get a store, get it online, you can get your web presence there, get your products that are on there, whether they're personalized or pulled out of stock, whatever happens to be, and then submit that order from your web to print system to MIS. You can set that up in basically a morning. It is not rocket science anymore because of all the tools that we've got for the configuration that makes it quite straightforward. We can set something up in the morning, get a store ready with a product on, and then actually submit an order straight through to another system and send a message to another system and say, this is the order, PDF sat over there, go and grab it. So you can make it very, I wouldn't even call it complicated, I'd call it very sophisticated, a very sophisticated system that separates out data, segments it, does all sorts of things, passes stuff through lots and lots of different templates and orders things and does all sorts of stuff. But the simple stuff, here is my file, I want 350 of them, these are the order details, push it straight through to the MIS, or push it straight through to a workflow system or some sort of product, maybe like Switch or any other products. There's many other products like that available. To be able to do that, we can do that really simply. And there's plenty of people here on this call now that will help anybody to try and achieve that. And there's lots of information about it. Kelvin said earlier on about education. There's lots of it about now. There's loads of it about. It's not that difficult. It really isn't. Taking that first step, it's not tough. It really isn't.
Okay, and Kelvin, I'm just going to come to you before I ask for last comments from everyone. I know that you've got a specific view, having talked to you about this previously, about about MIS and web to print and the necessity for these pieces of software to coexist. So if you'd like to go for that, go for it.
Well, where do you start? MIS, web to print, digital press. You always start with a web to print, don't you? You tie the customer in, you secure the customer. I know I'm going to get stones thrown at me for saying this, but the most important thing is, if your shop door's not open and your fruit and veg aren't on the shelf, nobody is coming in to buy them. You've got to start building those relationships. You've got to tie customers down and understand where the customer wants to go and plan your MIS on the back of your web to print. MIS certainly has a place and is an important factor of it, and having good kit on the back end of that, and not just. I thought what Paul said was really important, that not just to have one brand of kit. You've got to speak to someone who knows what different manufacturers can offer. Everyone's got strengths and weaknesses, but really what you need to do is you need to tie the customer in. You need to build up those relationships. And if the customer comes to you and wants something, they don't care what MIS you've got. They don't care what printing press you've got. They actually don't care what your finishing line does or who's working on your finishing line. What they want to know, can they meet their needs, their expectations for their internal stakeholders, for them, for their customers? Can they be met by some kind of solution that you can offer? And that is what web to print should be doing. And if you've got web to print and it's not working, stop trying to flog a dead horse, move on to something else, wherever that web to print is, and start using a web to print system that works and gives you a return on what you've invested.
Yeah, and just a reminder to everyone, throw those stones at Kelvin. Yes, Kelvin Bell. Look him up on LinkedIn. So to kind of round things off, I'd just like to come to you, Paul. Last comments on going back to the start of this. Why is it important to try and get the most out of your digital printer 24/7 now?
I can't answer that. What I can say is something that Craig said before. It's a difficult time. We have to be positive. We have to try and look for something better. And I think what Chris was about simple sophistication, or maybe it's making a sophisticated job that little bit more simple. So find an easy way of producing it, and like Kelvin says, push your door wide open all day long. Yeah.
Craig, same question to you.
Yeah, I'd be a little bit of what I said earlier. Yeah, get out there, get your shop open, push it out to as many customers as you can, any potential customers. Let them know that you're there. Give them 24/7 access. A little bit like Kelvin said about letting them have 24/7 access, submitting their orders in that way, and then giving them really great sort of value added with regards to customer service and that sort of thing. Put your efforts into that, but basically make sure that you are open 24/7 and allow everyone to order from you 24/7, even if your presses are not running for 24/7 and you're not staffed 24/7. But make sure that your shop door is always open.
Great. Kelvin, before I sum up, last word to you.
Don't worry about feeding the presses. Worry about meeting the needs and expectations of the customers. Stop now worrying, and give yourself some time to think rationally about how you can engage with people in a different way. Everybody is stationary. I'm in lockdown. I'm not going anywhere. If you want to contact me, I'm here. You're there. Once you know where your customers are, and you can start understanding and engaging with your customers about what they want, this is a great forum. Not particularly these retrobates, but other forums are probably a bit more better on the educational side. But once you understand what your customers and their customers want to do, and once you can see what other people are doing along the lines of innovation, and you can match that innovation with products that you can produce, that will fill your presses. And it's not just about filling one press. If you get success, and we know people who've done this, it's getting another press. It's getting another press. It's having a good workflow to make it more efficient. That all directly affects your profitability. So that's the best I can sum it up.
No, thank you very much. Well, thank you one and all to the panel for your views today. Some really good punchy opinions there, which everyone will like to hear. You can look up all of the panelists on their speaker profiles on the Futureprint website. And I think just to end off, what I've really taken away from this is that, yes, the industry in the UK specifically, North America, parts of Europe is going through a really difficult and challenging time. And I think overall, one of the biggest fears that has come from our membership, at least, is a lack of control. Now, looking at your business, as Kelvin said, and finding ways to take back control of your future. And one of those ways to do it is to understand that one of the biggest overarching trends that society is experiencing at the moment, which has been accelerated by COVID, is very simply a mass migration towards online ordering and e-commerce that had already started. Now, if someone is willing to order their shopping online, they will then start to want to, and their clothes online, their fashion, their hobbies, everything. They are going to want to migrate to also ordering their print online. So that is something that you need to factor in. And if you can start working on that project, that will be in 6 months to a year time about how you bring in web to print and integrate it and make this a part of your business, then it will give you some control back and make you feel more positive for the future. So thank you one and all, and I will look forward to seeing you on the next amazing session for the Futureprint Virtual Summit.